Hello, everybody, and hello, Lee Carroll. Welcome, welcome. It's always a
Hello,
pleasure.
hello, hello. Sorry.
It's
I'm
always
so
a
excited.
pleasure.
I'm,
I when
oh, yeah.
I love to do these recordings with you because it's always at the most terrible time in weather history in Colorado, and I imagine that you're, you know, looking at the sunset over the ocean, and there's a balmy breeze, and you're going to
Of
leave all
course.
You're going to leave
Of
all
course.
that in a couple of weeks and come here. And
It's true.
it's always a wonderful thing to have you. So let's talk about Boulder a little bit. But I would love to talk to you about 2016. It has been quite a year.
2016 has really been something, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, just in a whole lot of different ways. And I'm not talking about just the last month or so, but it's been a surprising year for some. It's been a continuing recalibration year. Kryon says, by the way, that you can't. Not everybody's the same, but in general, 2016, and we'll talk about the numerology later if you want to, is the last calibration year. We started it in 2013. We done it with 3 years of going through stuff, and now it starts to come around. And we're getting it. The sun's starting to come out, basically.
Yay. Whew.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking as you said that, I mean, you can't just turn on and turn off recalibration. It's going to have to take some time.
It's true, and what I'm so very careful. But Kryon is saying when you take a look at the numerology, the energy is right for these kinds of things, and the people, as you know, deal with it as they do. And some have slow time cycles, and some have quick time cycles. So some people snap right out of it and go on to other things, and some people linger a year or so, and are slow. Some people got into it slowly and are just now realizing what the calibration meant because they're starting to see some things. But basically, what Kryon has said ever since 2012 is that these are changing times. The shift has really pushed us into very, very different times.
Now, by the shift, you mean?
I mean the shift to the precession of the equinox is the big deal. Yeah, the 2012 was the center. The 21 December was the center of the precession of the equinoxes, and we've talked about this, and we do all the time, and you and I do it in our seminars. But that's what the indigenous had foretold all around the planet. We saw it also in spades in the Mayan calendar. So that's the shift that Kryon is actually here for. If you take a look at when Kryon arrived in '89, it took me a long time to realize, what's the purpose? Why is he here? Why are we channeling? And then it was interesting, and you participated in this too and watched this and been part of it. But we've had many channelers on our stage at the same time over the years. And then I got to looking at when they started, and almost every single one of them started within a year of me. So this is, what a coinky dinky. It's almost like there were many messages for many people, including the Western world, the indigenous, all centering around what happened in this shift that we've had. And this was foretold. You might remember we weren't going to make it, Amber.
Right.
You and I, we were growing up, we had the Cold War, we had all this stuff, we had all this prophecy. We weren't going to make it, and we did. And it was almost a last-minute pullout. I think it was '87 with a harmonic convergence that we started to realize what was going on. Shortly thereafter, we had a lot of people come online, start channeling, including myself, and the 2 people I'm going to be with here in Boulder.
Yay. Well, I think we're just kind of getting, and the further we get from 2012, we're seeing what it really means. I think right on top of 2012, we didn't really understand the significance of it like we do now, in my opinion.
I'm really glad you said that, because what we're starting to see, how retrospect is great, but it's completing the picture. You're right. I really had no idea. I didn't know that Kryon was here for that until we had it. And then he started talking about it. He would never have shown up if we didn't have that wild card. The Soviet Union fell over, and we had a situation where we pulled that out at the last minute. And Kryon would never have been here. So Kryon is here now as a teacher for the shift. And that's now clear, and that's the information. So who knows what's coming? Because
Oh, Lord.
the information, I have a new book coming, but the new
Yay.
book is all about, and that'll be next year, maybe in March. It's all about the new human. So is it possible we really have shifted that much? What does human evolvement really look like? What is, when we say DNA is going to change and shift, what does that look like? And the book is going to take it apart and show this is what it is, this is what's going to happen, and it's not as much as prophecy as it is a description of how we are going to evolve.
Wow. Ooh, good. We need to have a look at that, because it's much nicer to have a map than just go stumbling along, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, they sometimes feel like you're stumbling anyway.
Oh, yeah.
What I love to do is I tell people the map is just like in the book 5 Journey Home. It really does reveal itself only as you need it to.
You are here until you're not.
That's it's the you are here map. Yeah. It's like, so there's a fork in the road coming up and you say, what do we do? What do we do? And it says, then you'll know when you get there. You go,
So as we've traveled the world in this last year, would you tell us what your general take is on what's going on with people across the globe, all the different countries that you and I have both been to, and the different events? And what is the general feeling that you come away with about our work and what's happening with people generally in the world?
Two words: new awakening. I would have told you, I've been doing this since 26 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I lose count. And that's like a career.
Yeah.
I started this after my career.
Yeah.
And usually people retire after like 25 or so, or at least you have authors and speakers and all. And after so many years, the new blood comes in and they take over, they retire, and and people stop buying their books and all. And this is the opposite with me. What I have seen since 2012 is just a whole lot of awakening people. And they're not necessarily retired people. And this is kind of a joke because you and I know that demographics of what we do is often for people like 40 and over, because they've raised families or they're almost done raising families. And so they have time to think about themselves and their own personal growth. This is now starting to wipe away that whole idea. And we're starting to see 30-somethings and below. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are coming. Raise of hands. I don't know if you remember how many times you've been in our audience. We'll say, how many people are new? And, a third of the audience goes up. And then you've asked a question
every week
in the past. I love the next question often you ask, and how many just found out about the meeting? And about 14 or 15 people will say, oh, I found out about it yesterday, And this is what's going on all over the planet. We're seeing, you and I did a very, very interesting meeting like no other. We had to write a book. Mm-hmm. And it was underground, and there was salt there. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
That was a salt mine in southern Germany, and that was built for like meditations and all. They carved that thing out. You could hear a pin drop. It was wonderful. And if you looked around, there were so many young people, and they packed it out.
Yeah.
And you just have to ask, what's the attraction now that wasn't maybe 5 to 6, 7 years ago? Because we're doing this a long time. Mm-hmm. I feel my audiences. I know who they are and what they're thinking. And these are exuberant audiences. Mm-hmm. There's a new awakening means to me that it's like stuff is starting to be new to people, and they're just coming online. They're very excited about it. So it's hardly stagnant. This is snowball is rolling as far as I'm concerned. That's how I would answer what I felt everywhere we've gone. Everywhere we've gone.
Yeah.
We've been to Budapest, Hungary. It's probably a great example. We're there every other year. We've done this for like a decade or so. And the last one was more vibrant than any of them, with more people. It's just astonishing. Places you wouldn't expect for these things to be happening are happening.
Yeah, and I love that. That's, it's exciting for me as a presenter to see that. And when those new hands go up in the audience, I'll tell you, every time I'm astonished. It's not like like, oh, it'll be half the audience. No, every time those hands come up and I go, wow. And then people tell stories, like, yeah, I read my first Kryon book Wednesday and here it is Saturday. They're there. So, yeah.
And that, wouldn't you say there's something else that you could probably add to that, in that is that there's a more complete understanding of the awakening? It's not such a mystery as it was to so many of us. That others come along faster.
Well, yeah. I think because we have so much information available to us in so many ways now, that it isn't a mystery. You can find out this and find out that, and it's sort of like it's like a rolling wave, and it just keeps going and touching so many people's lives, and it's amazing and fantastic.
And it's about, a personal spiritual growth, where if you went into our meetings and somebody said, well, what's that about? In 3D, they would say, well, what they expect is it's an organization and they want you to join it, and it's got a spiritual doctrine and it's different. And so that puts you in the bag with about 400 or 500 other doctrines that are all over the planet. And this is not what we do. We stimulate some truthful things that really are quite ancient, I think. And in the process, people are awakening to their spiritual selves. And this doesn't pull them out of church. It doesn't do anything like that. It just enhances what they already feel, and they feel it's personal. And that I think is what we do. It's more than being life coaches or anything. It's just informative. And I tell people when they come, especially if they've never come to a Kryon meeting before, that there's nothing to join. There is no doctrine, and there's no prophet to follow. There's no real books to buy. I mean, you can follow. You can get a Kindle online, or you can borrow one. It's not a textbook.
Right.
In fact, you don't even have to read a Kryon book. Just listen to the information. Yeah.
And all of those channels that are recorded, that are online for free, and then all of the transcriptions that are online for free. So, yeah, it's really sort of a hands off, way of teaching.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited about this year having you in Boulder, because we're doing new things. We're having, of course, we're having Prageet Harrison, the Stargate, which will be wonderful. He'll be setting that up on Friday night and changing the vortex of Boulder for a few days, and then
he does.
Yeah.
He's been he had it in so many countries we've been in now, and I mean in Amsterdam and also in Budapest, and really it does change it. I can feel that thing. I can when I walk in the door. That's an amazing thing he's channeled, put together. So I love his work. That's Prageet Stargate. He's also going to be with us. He channels Alcazar besides having the Stargate. He's going to be with us on Sunday as well, all day long. Yeah. And then Marilyn Harper. Boy, if you haven't seen Marilyn Harper, you got to see Marilyn Harper on Saturday.
I'm so excited she's coming. She's a pistol.
I know.
No uncertainty.
I know. Adironda could do. She's called. I should even be careful. She's called the Bette Midler of the New Age.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
And she's often just a scream. So, and people don't expect that with channeling. You have this feeling that there's a lot of reverence and things of this nature, and
seriously,
as it should be. I know, and there's that as well. But there ought to be joy and fun and laughter, and she supplies that as well. So, and we're gonna channel together. So we'll do that on Saturday, and then Prageet with Alcazar, we're gonna channel together too. I've done this with both of them, and you've been there all over the planet.
Yeah.
And we've sat
but not in Boulder yet. So that's a first for Boulder. I love doing things the first time in Boulder. It's great.
And then you get to do
Lemurian
sisterhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first time we're having a Lemurian sisterhood meeting on Saturday night for the first time since 2014, and so that's a big deal for me. And it really is. The other thing that people might not know is that evening of 2014, when you asked me if I'd like Kryon to channel at the meeting, And of course, I said yes. It was so exciting. And Kryon told me my Lemurian priestess name, Meliha, that night. But also, it began 3 years of channeling at Lemurian sisterhood meetings all over the world. And in that time, for people that haven't listened to those channels, the history of the sisterhood and of the Pleiadians and Lemuria working together, and how was involved in it, and how it unfolded over time, right up until last weekend when I got a new assignment for next year.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that. Listen, you ought to tell people too, something I'm very proud of, and I got to be there. And the culmination of, I would say, you talk about women coming together and finding purpose and all like that. It was, I think, in the Greek goddess tour, and I remember you guys all together, gals, all together in Crete, where all the women were, and it was just very, very special. Being in Greece and on the island of Crete with all of those goddesses, I think was just a precious time. And I just was reflecting on what, the beginnings of all that. And you were with Nicole, and you both took those women to places I don't think they expected to go.
It was an amazing week, 2 weeks, a week on Crete and a week in Athens. I don't think we could have, we always have a plan and a schedule, but there's no way that we could have known energetically what was happening until we were happening. And it was, I like you, I reflect on it and I go, wow, that really was.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. And I go a lot of places, but I know it was the first time there, but there was just a certain energy about it. We were there with all of the things that have happened in Greece, of course, with all the history there. And that was significant, I believe, and really, it was great to be on that land.
Yeah, and the feeling that the women have when they're in those temples that were dedicated to women, it's so unlike what we were raised with and what is in most of the world in terms of reverence for the goddess and honoring the feminine. So it was a big dose of that to take home and to start living with in everyday life.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, because that I would have liked to, and you did. So that was true. That is one of the things that made a big difference. You don't find anything like that where we live.
No, not so much. Little Lemurian sisterhood meeting here and there.
Well, and then give it the indigenous who had some of that we can find, but it was great to see it in spades, as they say in Greece, with the temples there. Oh yeah.
So can we talk for a minute about next year, 2017, the year of new beginnings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does everyone understand? This is we're sitting here 2016, and that is a 9-year numerologically, and next year the 1. We have that happen just in the cycle of years, but it's so interesting what's happening. It really enhances the fact that 9 is a wrap up and a completion of the calibration, and 1 truly is the sun coming out. It's new beginnings is what it's called. And so people are thinking, this is a year where so much stuff has happened, and we really are climbing out of this hole. Now, don't turn on your television and decide how you're doing. And that's the thing I'll tell everybody. First of all, you only get what they want to tell you in all aspects. And there are so many things that never go reported that are beautiful and happening and coming together. We've seen this time in our times in Israel and all that stuff. We're going to go to Egypt. There are so many things under the hood, as they say, that are taking place that are never going to get reported. Kryon talks about them. You don't know what you don't know. And the planet, there's many things happening. He also talks about 2 steps forward, 1 step back, which means that not everything goes smoothly all the time. So you have to just take a look at the progress that we make. I like to look at what mainstream is starting to think about some of the things that we teach. It's becoming more mainstream. What I mean by that, and you can tell people what you're into, and and they don't just walk away anymore. You say, I'm into alternate healing, or I believe the body listens to me, and I can heal myself. And I have friends who are doing the same thing, and they're looking and going, yeah, I've heard this, and I've seen there's another book about it. So instead of them running out the door and reporting it, so so there's being more acceptance. We're seeing literally just in the world for some of the things that we are teaching that are very old, that we've been teaching for a long time, but they have a brand new shiny spin to them because people are starting to see the truth in it instead of looking at it and criticizing it.
Yeah,
so
and
that's part of the new year.
Okay.
Coming up.
Part of the new year. That's great. And what else?
Yep.
What else do you think is in store?
Surprises.
Good surprise.
And they started. They've started right away, haven't they?
Yeah, they did. They started in November.
And Kryon keeps saying it isn't over yet. And I really like that because it means don't make up your mind what you think is going to happen or what you think you know. Yeah. So there could be some alterations, what you believe is normal. And by the way, there is no more normal. And you're seeing that almost daily and wondering that's why I say, wondering what's going on. That's why I say, don't turn on the news and let them tell you what's happening. You've got to be a little more circumspect about everything. And right now, there's all of this horror and and all of the things that, and that is so sad, and it hurts your heart. It's, by the way, hurts your heart because you haven't seen it in a while. In other words, not like that. Your parents did, maybe your grandparents did, and so it just slaps us in the face that we're not used to this. And this is what Kryon keeps saying about the Dark Army. That's all very involved in all of this, that you're going to see something in these times where that will shock and surprise you, where literally the face of darkness will show itself very strongly, trying to scare us, and it does. And what to do about it and how to work within it. And we're just not prepared for this kind of a thing. It's very, very intense. And it's different. He even talked about the Dark Army as an army. For the first time, you have an army without borders. Now, in Syria, you've got the rebels, and you've got all of them, but you're still having the influence of ISIS and all the other things that are going on around that. And all of these things were predicted by Kryon to happen after 2012 because there's more light is starting to appear on the planet. And what that's doing is bringing out the dark. And they're flailing. They're coming out of the woodwork because they're losing control. So, and as I say that, people are going, yeah, just look at the news. And I'm telling you, there's a whole lot more you don't know. Just stay tuned because things are not as they seem. That's been the theme of Kryon all along, and that's pretty much the way it's been. Yeah.
Right down to the following Michael Thomas around, right? That darkness, and things are not always as they seem. Yeah. Well, I think that's good news, and I'm hopeful.
I am too. It's hard to get people hopeful when they see so much darkness. And, but when you only have darkness being presented, it's a tough thing. I tell people, turn off the TV, just turn it off. Can you live without it for a week? Well, you might find it, because you're not getting both sides.
No.
And there's reasons. Some of it is not reportable, and some of it is not known like they know the darkness. There's lots of cameras photographing the bad stuff, and there's hardly anything going on in the good stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff going on.
When we were in Athens and we had our 2-day event there, there was a young gal there named Alexis, and she was there doing something called the Soccer Ball Project. And she's just this beautiful young soul. She's 22, I think. And she has been funding this soccer ball projects, which brings soccer balls to refugee camps. Because really, all they're doing is trying to survive. There's no, joy there at all. So she was in Athens to deliver soccer balls, and she came to our event, and so I got to connect with her there. And she's one of many people of all ages, but this was a personal experience for me. She sent me pictures and so on of these poor children who have nothing, and the light on their faces when they have a soccer ball to play with, that takes their mind off of what's actually happened to them. And it gives them a way to interact that isn't run and duck and hide and huddle. And it's just kind of miraculous that people are just doing this stuff. They're just taking it on. Nobody asked her. She just did this. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
I'll tell you what Kryon is calling it, and you're not going to hear this in a channel yet, but he's talking to me about it. It's the decentralization of joy. And that means that that's part of the new human and the new paradigms that are starting to shift. We expect good things to come from the same things they always did. There will be foundations, there will be committees and corporations, there'll be all manner of stuff that does this, and the same thing happens on the negative side. It's all done. It's either armies or it's organizations or explosions are going off, and and nobody is thinking about the onesies. You got tens of thousands of this kind of person, Alexis, and they're all doing things like this. The decentralization is going to make a big impact. It's nothing to join. You're watching it. You're happy. You're tuning into it, doing your own. It's catchy. You're finding your own way of doing what she's doing. This is a new paradigm. You're going to see more and more of individuals and perhaps families helping others. And they won't be a larger organization. They won't be necessarily well funded. They will be something that they're doing on their own, and it'll be something that they're very happy in. This is going to start popping up in social media, and you're going to see it there first. Maybe it will get to CNN, and maybe it won't. Just like there's so much on this planet that has been amazing and beautiful and miraculous that never ever made CNN.
No.
So it's only because it's not dramatic. It's not enough horror.
Yeah. And isn't that wonderful that people find a place inside themselves that says they're so inspired that I'm going to do this, period. And, it doesn't matter if nobody's ever done it, and it doesn't matter if they don't have all the particular tools or money that they need. They'll figure it out. And it's inspiring. It's really inspiring.
As children, we used to look at the world when we were growing up and ask the questions, well, why? Well, why can't this be? Well, why does that have to be? Well, why? And the answers were always, you'll know more when you grow up, and then you discovered how everything has to be structured and has to go through this and that. When Steve Jobs revolutionized music, he decentralized it. And this is the same kind of thing that we're looking at here. So you have that as a paradigm shifter to take a look. And what I really truly expect is you're going to see benevolence being doled out individually by more and more people. And children are going to say, why can't we do this and that? And the parents are going to look at them and go, I don't have an answer. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because today there's going to be the tools, there's a social media. It doesn't require a tremendous amount of funding to help a couple families. And you have a lot of families doing that, and it's a movement without centralization, without organization, without contribution. You see lots and lots of people doing what they can for others, and it's catchy.
I love that. And it's so, it's unique. Everyone figures something out that's unique, that's never existed before. So and that really inspires me about 2017 and beyond.
It does, and that brings us to a nice segue about what's happening in June.
Yeah,
because we have our great big meeting. It's our flagship meeting from June, actually May 30th to June 11th. And it's called the Summer Light Conference, but this year, we have so many things. Excursions, you got to go to Yellowstone, you've got to see Old Faithful, all of these things that we're doing. But our central core revolves around something called Heart Math. And Heart Math is, if you have never heard of it before, it is championed by Greg Braden. And we're going to have somebody called Deborah Roseman and Howard Martin. There were two of the three founders of this, who are there going to discuss what this is. What is the research that shows something that is extremely important to us to know how this works? It's not just about the heart, it's the whole human being. And I know that you teach this as well in your own way, but even before we get off, this seems to be the theme of the year, because we have also chosen to include it in something that we are doing, you and I, and that is our Discovery series.
Yay,
in August.
Discovery.
Yay. We haven't done this for 4 years. A 4-day, I think it's been 4.
Yeah.
4-day intensive with Kryon and teaching. 4-day intensive. We used to do it every single year, and I got busy and stuff. And then and you really brought this back, because you and your former husband Sid have actually created this from scratch and made this so beautiful and so workable for me. And we have intensive training. We have channeling every single day, and we have Shamir, who, by the way, is going to be teaching heart math.
Yay.
So, and this is going to be, and first time we'll be in Alberta, we'll be in Canada, with the Discovery series in August, and that is on my site date-wise, but it's going to be expanded a little bit here. After we get out of Christmas and all the stuff, I think I would like to post it then. That's what I'd like to do. So
okay.
It's not.
That sounds good.
Not, it's not just entangled with everything else, because we've got a cruise and all the things that have just been. Look at I'm going back to Ireland, but the 4-day intensive called Discovery is new. It's just that we haven't done it in a while. So.
Yeah.
For anybody listening, but it's unusual. It's unique. We just don't do that.
It's really it's an immersion intensive.
It is,
and that's really the only one that we do like that. And
it is the only one.
I didn't think about this until you said, but Howard Martin, who is one of the founders of HeartMath, and his wife, Deborah Rosman, will be in Big Sky at the Kryon Summer Light Conference. But before that, on the 10th and 11th of February, Howard Martin will be in Boulder. Yay, I'm bringing him to Boulder because I don't have to travel to go see him. So I'm very excited. That's just right around the corner. We'll have
he likes the weather there too, huh?
Oh yeah, he's from California. He loves winter in Colorado. So
there's another one.
Yeah, there's another one. And the thing that I feel about HeartMath is it's giving us an opportunity that's really so very, I guess the word is simple. What is taught by HeartMath practitioners and HeartMath founders are these really simple, beautifully elegant techniques that each one of us does to change our own field by just talking to our hearts and breathing through our heart and using our heart and our brain together. And their research over 25 or 30 years has shown that it actually affects the energy field of the planet. They have these really cool sensors buried in the earth in 6 different places, one of them on the North Island of New Zealand, that collect data and read it constantly. They have data analysts all the time looking at this stuff and looking at what's going on around the world. And they have you can hook up your phone to do these little breathing things, and you can measure how you're contributing to what they call the global coherence or global harmony that is generated by people doing this. So I think it's all part of this beautiful wave of people creating the goodness, the light that there is, and we're doing it together. So all of those.
For those who are listening now, this is also accompanied by very hard science. In other words, this is not all just flaky stuff. And what I mean by that is that's what people expect of us, especially channelers and all, New Age. But HeartMath has science basis. And that if you want to know more about that, we're presenting this all year. When are they coming? Is that
Howard will be in Boulder on the 10th and 11th of February.
All right.
And then, of course, June at the Kryon Summer Light Conference, and then we'll be teaching it at Discovery. And I teach with you on our weekends. We're teaching heart math-based techniques every weekend. So those are the kind of tools that people can go home with. Just at our.
And if I didn't say it, Greg Braden, he's a champion of it. He'll also be speaking again with us at Yellowstone in June. Greg and I have been presenting more and more, I think, than ever in these past years. I realize now, almost every year we're together doing something, sometimes twice.
Yeah.
We're going to be also. Greg and I are going to be in CERN, Switzerland, also by the big machine there that we're not supposed to mention.
Oh, we're not? I was almost going to say it. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, no. If you know what they used to call the cyclotron, the big thing that spins atoms, the largest one in the world, we're going to be there. And we may even take a tour of it, but we're not supposed to say what it is because I'll just tell you why, because they don't want associated with the weird group. And it's funny because Greg Braden is hardly the weird group. He's a scientist who just happens to have discovered some things that it isn't what necessarily they're teaching. So anyway, that's what we're going to do in CERN, and Greg and I are going to be there together and talking about atoms and things.
Cool.
Wow.
It's going to be quite a year. I'm really looking forward to every day of it and just feeling the shift on the planet, because I know that's what's bubbling up.
You're coming to Bavaria again with us.
I am. I'm coming to Bavaria. I just had the best time there last year. I think I ate 10 pounds of butter in a week.
This was your first time to that state of Germany called Bavaria, which is in the south, and it is so special. And I'm glad you loved it, because that's what we just love to go there. That's one of the many places we're going.
It is exactly like those postcards that you see of it. It is.
Oh yeah.
The mountains and the valleys and the rivers, they're just spectacular. And the negative ions that are in the air from all the water, it just has such a healing effect and a calming effect. I really felt that there. And I see why there are all those spas where people go take the waters, because you can walk away and we're going back to the salt cave I saw, and that is exciting.
Yes, we are. And we're touring a lake, and none of this is on the website yet. People are going, wow, this is really neat. I'd like to go to the website and see it. It isn't there yet. So we're just we're leading you on so that you'll know. I believe that's going to be in September or something around there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. By the way, as an American, I don't speak German at all, never did. It was so funny to me. The word that's used to describe a bath or a spa is BAD, bad.
Bad, yeah.
And so the first time I saw it on a hotel, it said the Bad Hotel.
Yeah.
Would
you advertise it?
Yeah, and it just meant a spa hotel.
Yeah.
That's really, really cute, because hotel is both.
It's a good thing, not a bad thing, right?
It's a very good thing, and I just laughed and laughed, and then I realized how ignorant I was.
Well, now you know. Now you know.
Now I know.
Well, so this has been so great spending this time with you, Lee, and just getting to ask the questions that I don't get to ask when we're working, and connecting with our audience, because I do feel them listening, and I love that. If you could just give us a couple of pearls to take with us into 2017, or if things that Kryon has said to you about how to just be and handle the year to come for us.
It's not going to be such a surprise if you know that there's going to be changes. If you're expecting it to return to normal or a semblance of what you thought you liked, it's not going there. And so if you can prepare yourself, not just for change, but prepare yourself to study it, and say, okay, look at it metaphysically instead of the way you want it to. We have got to soften up and open up our hearts as people beyond what we've done before, and get out of the little boxes that we're in that say this works and that does not. And so when we're looking at things metaphysically, we very well may be looking at something we didn't expect. So I'd say number one is to be circumspect. Number two, don't fear what you hear, because that's the whole design. That's the whole design. Make it awful, get you afraid, and then when you're afraid, you're more pliable. You're going to do the things that maybe they would love you to do, and I say they, and that's the people around you. And so Kryon has always said these are times when you're going to have to start readjusting human nature. Then the last thing is look for God in everybody, be slow to anger, and this is going to be the key. Balance. We're going to see more balance with people, and we're going to start with the people listening to us now. These are light workers. They're old souls. They know what I'm talking about. And it's got to start with us. I literally had a guy, I was probably doing something wrong in my car and not listening to it, and I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I thought the guy was going to fly out of his car. He made all kinds of gestures. He was yelling at me. He was trying to get out and run, and I was backing up. And the whole time I was looking at this, and instead of my heart racing, it was like, I wonder if he has a Kryon book. Like, I knew that was funny, but I was saying, here's a man who was so angry, just had absolutely no joy, no love, or anything else, and he was very, very quick in order to do what he did. This is going to change. You're going to start seeing it, and it has to change with us first, where we don't respond. We balance. We don't react. And this is also, I know, what you teach. And reacting is an old human nature.
Yeah.
And taking instead a balanced response is what we're teaching. And sometimes the answer is no response. In other words, somebody yells at you, you don't have to yell back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not human nature. No. Not like we had when we grow up. So these are the kinds of things that we are seeing and telling people to look forward to, and not to fear. And also remember that for every horror thing that you're going to hear on the news, that there's probably an equal thing that they're not telling you.
A better good thing, a light thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like propaganda, that horrible news stuff. So,
I don't want to get anybody, it's not conspiracy. It's just human nature is how they mold programming. So people will watch.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And so if human nature begins to change, you're going to watch a whole nother kind of audience. And I predicted that too. Kryon has said as well. You're starting to see, and you know this, broadcast television starting to go away, and you're going to go streaming where people will watch what they want when they watch, and it'll be heroic programs, animals, babies, kids, all manner of things. That is not what we're used to having when they want reality shows where you can tune in to watch people argue with each other. And that this is starting to shift, and you'll see it in this year, next year.
So we're taking with us into 2017 the empowerment to make our own choices about what we watch, what we hear, how we act, how we respond, and the responsibility to do that as well. It's out of the victim and into the responsibility, and shining our light just because we want to, not because we have any expectations, but just because that feels like the right thing.
Yeah. And it's going to feel good. In other words, it's not going to be something that you're going to try. It's going to be automatic. You're going to love it. And I'll just tell you, it's the same thing that I gave to you in my little blurb for Christmas, was that some of you are going to have to, in a week, go home to people you only see once a year. And there's this elephant under the table because you left the family and you're the lunatic fringe person. and they're normal and you're not. And so here's the time. Can you be a balanced, shining person without reacting? Can you rehearse some of the things you might have to say in benevolence, in sweetness and in joy, so that they just can't complain with anything you say? Or they probably will, but there's no ammunition for anxiety, frustration, drama, fighting, anything. Circumstances won't be what you want. Can you sit there in your own little bastion of peace and be the one that's balanced in your family, even during all of the spinning?
So peace on earth begins within us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Good time to practice it.
Yeah, it's a perfect time to practice it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lee, for spending this evening with me. I appreciate it. And
well, it was fun.
I hope you have a wonderful, amazing holiday.
Is it snowing there?
No, tomorrow. Tomorrow. It actually
tomorrow.
got up to 62 degrees here today. It was crazy. Tomorrow it's supposed to be like 20 and snow. So
heat wave. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So
okay. Well, I'll see it.
Yes, you
in Boulder. I'll be there. I'll
have a beautiful holiday, and I'll see you very early next year. Okay.
Thank you,
Bye,
Amber.
my friend.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.